Good morning. Ooh. Oh. Good morning, everyone. How are you? Welcome. This is Michelle, Design Living for Life. I wanted to share with everybody this morning something that I've been thinking about for a minute, and that's been going over my mind with all the current events that are going on. You know, I talk about mind, body, spirit, and spaces. And what I'm going to talk about really lends to all of that. Our minds, our bodies, our spirits, our souls, our spaces. Because from COVID to now this Ukrainian situation and so many other things going on in the world, you know, there's a lot of, I think, uncertainty for a lot of people. And as this COVID situation is either coming to its end or, I mean, as far as I know, there's been no finality to anything. So, you know, what's really happening with the masks, what's not happening with the masks, there are so many great issues going on in the world that need to be addressed. And I think one of the greatest is how things are so rapidly changing in the world right now. And so quickly that it's almost like people can't catch themselves. And everybody's trying to adapt to all these different scenarios and changing of, you know, nothing's consistent, and people are feeling that. And I've been watching a lot of people talking about like the mask mandates, our freedoms, which evidently are very, very important. Okay? This is the United States of America. I mean, this is what we stand for. But what I find really, really interesting is I'm hearing a lot of people saying that when is the government going to give us our freedoms back? And I've heard it in a lot of different places, and I'm thinking to myself, the government giving us our freedoms back to move about. I thought, wait a minute. Isn't our government supposed to protect us against? Our government is supposed to protect us, and it's fundamentally designed to protect our freedom, to protect our right and ability to move about freely. So why are people asking for our government to give our freedoms back? Our government is designed to protect our freedoms. That's the first thing that I want to say. And, you know, what's going on in Canada, what's going on in different parts of the world, what's going on with Ukraine, it seems that a lot of powers that be are wanting to almost oppress our freedoms. Well, I mean, it's evident in a lot of things that there's a sense of our freedoms being oppressed. And there's so much that's not being addressed. There's craziness going on that no one wants to address. No one wants to see things for what it is and what is really happening here. Like, right under, you know, people with this whole COVID thing, people getting guilted into, you know, being told that you don't care about people, or you're murdering your neighbor if you don't put on a mask. That's intimidating. That's terrible. I'm sorry. That's terrible. But what is provoked people to do that? What has caused such a thing that you would do that against your neighbor even? That's negative to me. That's mentally people moving not in a good direction because you're being combative with your neighbor instead of helping your neighbor. Everybody has different situations and circumstances that they're living under. And not everybody should be blanketed with the same thing. Just talking about COVID in general, you can't go in places without a vaccination. And people in their minds don't find something fundamentally wrong with that as far as freedom is concerned, to be free to move about, which means that our government is no longer, as it appears, to be working for the people. It's their way or no way, and there's this really sort of weird definitive line. So when I keep on hearing, people saying, when is our government going to give us our freedom back? Our government is here to protect our freedoms. It's not to give us our freedoms back, but think about how the language is changing to get people to adapt even to that idea that our government has an ownership of us and gives us our freedom or not gives us our freedom. Like, I don't get that. I fundamentally don't get that. So, let's talk about the mind, okay? That is really a mind, I'm sorry, that's a mind screw, okay? That there's some people running around panicking and behaving outrageously over it. What has all of this really caused for a lot of people? I think that's something that should seriously be looked at. Like, seriously looked at. Okay? Yes, you know what? It is absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible that people have potentially lost their lives to COVID. I think everybody has been affected one way or another. But if people are obsessing over masks or obsessing over, things have just gotten out of hand. It seems it's beginning to calm down, but isn't it interesting how when it begins to calm down, something else comes up? It's like this perpetual need for fear. I don't get it. But anyways, so it's affecting people mentally, emotionally, many people. I mean, how many suicides have been reported? How many reports of people just completely losing it, people losing their jobs, people, businesses being shut down. Has this really been a positive thing? I think it's been way overblown personally. And I've done the numbers and I've done all of my homework before. Everything was shut down. And the numbers then and the numbers now are so risen by a fraction of what it is normally in our lives, that I'm not convinced that the world should have been shut down for COVID. I'm sorry. I just don't. So it brings me to this. So it has affected people mentally, emotionally, as far as our health is concerned, evidently. I mean, that's evident how it's affected people's health. Because, what is the old saying? Stress kills. Stress kills, and people are under a lot of stress. So, and that stress results in our bodies, in our health, in sickness. So if people are stressed out by what's happening, they're probably going to get sicker. I mean, that's science too. I mean, that can be proven. So it's affecting people's minds and bodies. And, you know, when it comes to our souls in that space of our spirit, I mean, you know, people are being crushed as well. I don't see anything that's happening right now at all overall positive. There's been absolutely nothing positive that's come from it at all. And I think the reality needs to be said in regards to that. At least say it and admit it. You know, and it's okay to. I mean, that's the you know, the beginning of healing, the beginning of being able to move on and start really doing things in a positive way instead of what feels like an agenda that people are forcing down average people's throats. It's not right. It's just not right. And I have a problem with that. You know, as a woman with children, I have a problem with that. I have a problem with the way the language has been changing, how it sounds so backwards. It's not even progress, it's regress. And I think a lot of people agree with me. And if you're one of those people, please let it be known. Put it out there. Call me. Let's talk about it. This is what I want to bring. This is what I want to talk about. You know, how do we as a people move forward in positive ways that are healthy for our minds, our bodies, our spirits, and our spaces. And our spaces, which are our environment, where we live, our communities. I mean, people feel like they're really being bombarded by real negativity, from, you know, racism to you know, the health crisis. You know, everything is a war on something. Everything is a war on something. How about we have a war on ignorance? How about that? Can we have a war on that? Can we have a war on ignorance? Because I'm seeing a lot of that. Okay? I'm seeing a lot of that. And it's really hard. You know, I watch so much. I do a lot of personal research, but I've been following so much more than half my life and being aware of things going on humanitarian wise, all of it. And I think that it's important that we all do our part. But I mean, we have to at least start at a place where you know, truths can actually be admitted, obviously without compromising our security in certain instances. But that term can also not be used against the people. It can't be used against the people. So what I really wanted to put out this morning, after all that is said and done, after all of it, I'd like to read something that I wrote this morning that came to my mind as we all talk about these drastic changes being made that seem really kind of one-sided. That's what it feels like. It feels like one-sided, and I don't think that's a fair place to come from. You know, that other voices aren't being heard. whether it be parents or, well, it seems as far as the children are concerned, it's the parents in the public schools. It seems to be people are dissatisfied with the decisions that government is making for them. But it is the servants of the people, which are the people who are appointed to the government, who are supposed to listen to the voices of the people and not force upon the people the ideas, but come to common ground. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So I'd like to read this today. And if you like what you hear, please, make a comment, keep it nice, keep it simple. This is just about sharing ideas. Common sense. What is common sense to me? That's what I'd like to talk about. Common sense. Because it almost seems like a lot of people have completely lost their common sense. So I'm going to read and say this. Our Constitution should not be destroyed. It holds the fundamental basic protections and rights as human beings free under God, to not be ruled over by dictator or tyrannical ideas that are still practiced throughout the world in different places over its people, but it's not for its people. If we accept this current language and evidence of current events as truth in our lives, with the evidence before us all to see what it is, has been, and produces from it. If we don't see the evidence of what has happened and currently happening in front of us, we will deliver our children up to the idea of it. We offer our children up to the idea of it. The giving of our future and the future of our children up to the same idea that America has fought against around the world to keep the land of America free under God, I do not believe is acceptable. I think that we need to return to fundamental values in this country and get off of really what seems to not be working, that people want. If, in fact, all the decisions that have been made over the course of these, especially last couple of years, is the result of everything that we're seeing right now, the outcome of everything that we're seeing right now, it is not a positive thing. And I personally will do everything moving forward to change that course. And I welcome anyone who would like to share in that with me. This is not about being against our government. I don't believe that anybody feels that that what people are saying and what people are speaking out about is against our government. But I believe that our government needs to be also reminded that they are appointed in their positions to serve and protect the citizens in which they govern over. That is the whole point of what has been set up in our nation. So that is my word for today. And I ended by saying that it's important for all of us, I believe, to pray over the continued protection in our nation, and that we come to a place and come together where we can figure out how to right a very wrong that has been made, so we don't have to live under any type of dictator or tyrannical minded people, persons, or systems that are not for the fundamental freedoms and rights that we as human beings have under God. Very simple and common sense. Everyone, I wish you an amazing day. It's beautiful outside. Get out there and enjoy it. I am going to finish my tea because I just got out of bed and I'm trying and getting my day ready. And if this is something positive for you in listening to it today, I ask you to share it with your friends, share it with anyone who might be interested and feels the same way. I'm over all of this. I mean, I'm over it, and I know I'm not the only one who is over it. So everybody's done their part. I have done my part, and I've gotten through people, coming at me and doing all kinds of things. Let's get back on track, everybody. I say this with much love to everyone out there today. Have a great day, and I will see you again soon. Mwah!